Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I've been battling with something. Hmm? I've never really understood the hype behind flowers and roses. I've never understood it. Over the past 3 years, I've seen more and more of my friends on Valentine's Day get their boyfriends and their girlfriends flowers and roses. And you see them, they get so excited. Sometimes you even see them cry. They are overwhelmed by the fact that their boyfriend or their girlfriend has given them a plant. And then there's me. I'm sitting behind my screen at 11 p.m. and I'm looking at all this and I'm like, what are you guys seeing in this? A plant that doesn't even smell that good? How are you guys feeling loved and feeling that your partner is being affectionate to you by this? It didn't make sense to me. Last year, I had the opportunity to sit in a plane and fly to Germany for a project. And on one of these days, we have finished a meeting with one of the companies and we're heading back to our hotel. So it's like 8:30, 9 p.m., but we went in summer, right? So the sun is still brightly out. It's cool, and we're just walking down the streets. We're walking with the whole team. But I had Dr. Black by my side, right? And Dr. Black is the German. He is the man that took us through the whole thing, right? So we're walking down the street. The breeze is cool. And I turn to my left, right? And there's this beautiful couple. I swear, a beautiful couple. And they were strolling down the street. The man was on one of those small electric scooters like this. And the girlfriend was holding him by the waist. And it was beautiful. It was cute. It felt like there was butterflies and rainbows all around them. That's what I saw. But when I saw them, the first thing I thought was, Kaish, this will never happen in Ghana. But then the second thing I remembered was people's fake flower obsession. And this time, I had Dr. Blank with me. He's German. Who are the original flower guys? That's why I asked him. I turned to him, Dr. Blank, why is it that you people are so obsessed with flowers and you people feel like you are cherished when someone gives you flowers? And he said something like, it just shows that they care for you and they cherish you. And to be honest, it was a long day. I don't think he had the time to go into the history of flowers, but I wasn't satisfied. So I did some research. And I won't bore you with the details. That's not why we're here. But what we did find was that there was a Greek god somewhere who shot an arrow somewhere and it hit something, and the Europeans started telling stories about flowers. That doesn't explain it, but bear with me. They started writing about this rose in their books, in their music. They started sharing this part of themselves, this culture that they have, that they got from mythology, in their movies too. And so, okay, I can understand. Flowers go in Germany, flowers go in Europe, roses go in Europe. And so, if you guys are doing that, I understand. But what about Yanum Ge in Africa? Roses don't go here. It is too hot, maybe in Kenya somewhere, but really, it doesn't go here. And so, my thought was, how did African boys and girls like me and you start getting flowers and roses for their boyfriends and girlfriends? My sister is a huge reader. She's been reading since she was like very, very tiny. And as some sort of punishment, it was so bad that as some sort of punishment, my parents would have to seize the books from her. The storybooks will seize the books from her so that she could focus on other parts of her life, i.e., read other books. Frankly, I think it's an addiction. But the first time I saw my sister sitting behind the family computer, I got really excited. I was really excited, even though she was typing like this, and it was annoying me. Why are you typing like a grandma? You're a young girl, right? What's this? And it was annoying. But when I saw her, the thoughts that were going through my mind were, what could Chanel possibly be writing about? Is she going to be the first author in our family? These were the thoughts I was having. Now, after a couple hours, when she got distracted, probably by another book, to be honest, I went to the computer, walked up to the computer, I clicked open the story, and I started reading. Paragraph 1, okay, 1. Paragraph 2, paragraph 3. And along the line, I realized that the name of the main character is Cinnamon. And Cinnamon lives in California. And Cinnamon is very, very white. Now, my sister didn't choose Nanama or Isinam or Namili as the name of her main character. No, she chose Cinnamon. Since then, I've realized that the reason why my sister made that decision, the reason why my sister named her character Cinnamon, is that in all the hundreds of books that she had read, all the books, there was no one in there called Nana Naamili with Afro Kiki hair and charcoal skin. No. And so when it was time for her to pour out from her heart onto the page, she from the stories that she knew well. And those stories she couldn't even see herself in. The reason why I want to get flowers for my girlfriend when I finally get one is because when I watched Carousel as a kid, Cyrilo, the black kid, gave Maria Jokina flowers to show his love. And so I was like, hey, yeah, that's why I want to get flowers for my girl. And I've seen it countless times in different movies, in different cartoons, in different shows. This same thing. Even think back to Teresa, one of the most popular telenovelas when I was a kid in Ghana. Look at their poster. What do you see there? A red rose. So to me, it always seemed like to show romantic love to someone, you had to get them flowers, but not just flowers. You had to get them red roses. This is the point. The stories we get exposed to, whether through movies, whether through music, whether through books, they directly influence the way we think, the way we act, and more importantly, in this case, the things we value. And that is what makes us who we are. I really wish I brought water. For Africans, though, our stories have always been diluted and retold by people who could not understand who we are because they are not us. But they are the only ones who could tell those stories. Why? Because they had the big publishing studios, they had the big film studios, they had the huge distribution networks. And so they could tell the stories. And they told the stories the way they saw fit. I think it was Chimamanda, one of the greatest writers of all time, in my opinion, that said, the single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, it is that they are incomplete. You see, your framework is very, very useful for us, guys. Because it's not that Africa has been portrayed negatively. That is too simple, no. It is that Africa has been portrayed narrowly. And that narrowness, repeated over decades of Western media, has flattened us. It has flattened the continent of 1.4 billion people. It has flattened the continent of 54 countries. It has flattened the continent of 1,000 distinct cultures into a handful of recurring images of poverty, hunger, instability. Think of almost all the foreign documentaries you've seen. Do they do a good job of representing what you and your culture actually stands for? They don't. How could they? They are not arts. I almost cringe every time I see a foreign documentary, by the way. But you see, you might think, maybe the way they see us is not important. If we know who we are, then that is all that matters, right? No, please. You see, the problem is that these stories don't just affect how others see us, they affect how we see ourselves too. When I was a kid, one of the cartoons that I really enjoyed watching was this guy. He's an Italian macho guy, and all he needs to do is throw spinach in his mouth. He throws spinach in his mouth, he'll become macho. Big man, bole man. And he will rip any villain he came across. Right? He's called Popeye. Now, me right now, I realized that what I was watching was definitely Beirut content. I'm not going to lie, it was Beirut. But I liked it at the time. A couple days ago, though, I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw Popeye on my feed. And I was like, oh, I'll open this thing and I'll just slap with nostalgia and I get excited and remember whatever, the good old days. When I clicked open the video, I saw one of the most racist videos I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not even exaggerating. Now, I don't recall ever watching this particular episode of Popeye the Sailor, but I do wonder whether that would have altered something in me. If me looking at Cyrilo giving Maya Jokina flowers made me want to give my girlfriend flowers, and my sister seeing blonde white girls in books made me want to write about blonde white girls, I wonder whether I would have internalized these racist stereotypes. I don't want us to get lost in the source though. Africans have good stories. The problem It's like we didn't have the infrastructure. But even in that, I would like to talk about Usman Sabin, one of the greatest filmmakers from Africa, or the greatest filmmakers, period, that told stories about his people, the Senegalese, in different eras. Or our very own Amata Edu, or Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, or Chinua Achebe, who writes about the real authentic African experience, who write about characters with Afro kinky hair and charcoal skin, who write about streets I can recognize, Elmina or Cape Coast. The problem wasn't stories. The problem is that we didn't have infrastructure. But times have changed today, guys. Over the past 3 decades, there's a shift. There's a big shift that has happened. The infrastructure rock, the big infrastructure rock that defined the last basically 4 centuries has not burst wide open, but he has cracked. And those cracks are wide enough for us to build through. Cameras are cheaper than ever before. The internet and YouTube have made it possible for anyone to acquire the technical knowledge required to tell a good story. Social media has made it possible for an ordinary man, an ordinary woman to say something. No Hollywood connections, and yet reach millions of people. We could go on and on about all the cracks that have appeared in the bureaucratic infrastructure, but I want us to narrow in on just this. The smartphone. The smartphone is the most significant publishing technology ever. Unlike the printing press, unlike the broadcasting tower and all those, it does not require bags of capital to operate. But what is even more interesting is that the smartphone is everywhere, including where? Africa. Smartphone adoption has passed over 55%. Right? According to GSMA intelligence, 74% of Africa's web traffic was from the phone, and that is more than 40 percentage points above global, everybody else. Now, what these numbers mean truly is that Africa is a mobile first continent, and mobile first means creator first. The power between having a good story and being able to distribute that story has collapsed in a single generation. And economic data reflects this as well. You will see that Quantumillion found that Africa's creator economy is valued at $5.1 billion in 2025 and is predicted to reach $30 billion in 2032. Who are the creators fueling this creative economy? They are all 18 to 24. 18 to 24, about 51% of them. And you see them take advantage of it. Look at Wademaya. He's one of the biggest YouTubers ever. Biggest YouTubers in Africa. And what does he do? He goes to the different African countries. He documents their life and tells their story. He tells the African story the way it is meant to be told by Africans. Or think of Kwoti in Nigeria, an incredible filmmaker and storyteller, one of my favorites, who constantly documents the life of people, but also focuses on the innermost feelings of these people, which I think reflects what the general population thinks sometimes. So there are so many special people, hundreds of these special people that do this on a grand scale. But what is even more interesting to me is that you and I have that source too. We have that special source too in all the stories we share and see on this. When you open TikTok and you see someone saying that, oh, we are going to buy Hausa Wachi. Hey, what is it? We are going to buy Wachi. All we need to do is say some small Wachi at the beginning. Say some small Hausa. Why do I keep? Say some small Hausa at the beginning. And the Wachi seller will give you more Wachi. That is the law of Ghana. Or when you see someone tweet that in a trotro, when someone says, someone be the meat, says yes, it doesn't mean anything else but bring your money, my guy. These are the small things. These small things widen the narrow stories that have been told about us. So, when you see the lifestyle creators doing, get ready with me, guys, or you see Shefabis told her that they're saying 1,000 times, or you see Koju Sheldon scream, the head is big for a reason, 10 billion times in just one day. I want you to remember something. I want you to remember that this is bigger than just making videos and putting on the internet. No, this is us, Africans, shining through those cracks. This is us telling our stories with no dilution from anybody. And as much as these stories are educative and fun and entertaining, we are also building a massive catalog of African authentic stories. And this time, the main characters are obsessed with boiled eggs. This time, the main characters use sound effects like A, O, Aba, Gogo, Gaga when they are speaking. This time, our main characters are called Nanekia and Kwekumeza. And maybe, instead of the red roses, the next African kids will get exposed to this. Thank you very much.